Survival mode helps us push through emergencies. But what happens if your body never leaves it? The truth is, living in survival mode comes with hidden costs that drain your energy, hijack your hormones, and steal your joy. Welcome to Healing Beyond the Symptoms, the podcast that helps people discover the root causes of their health struggles and take back control with science, strategy, and self-awareness. I'm Dr. Leah Hahn, a chiropractor and functional wellness doctor who believes that true healing starts beneath the surface. So let's dive in. What does survival mode really mean? Well, survival mode means that you're living in fight, flight, or freeze. It's your nervous system's response to keeping you safe in the face of stress. The problem is that many people get stuck here long term. The body never gets the memo that the danger has passed. This can be from trauma, it can be from small traumas, big traumas, and a chronic sense of fear or overwhelm. Sometimes it's not just the trauma that gets us stuck here. It's the lifestyle. It's living in a lifestyle in which we're always moving from one thing to the next. The body is actually relying on the energy created by the fight or flight response. It's a false energy, and it keeps the body in a disconnected state. The mind-body is disconnected, and it isn't recovering or healing. I think of a patient who once told me, even when I'm on vacation, I can't relax. My shoulders stay tight, my brain never shuts off. That's survival mode running the show. So I want you to think of how you feel after a good vacation, a vacation in which you truly relaxed, you truly experienced a reset. I want you to be able to tap into that feeling at least once a day. I'd like you to tap into that feeling multiple times a day, even for 10 minutes. It can make a huge difference in being able to reset the nervous system, but remember what that feels like. We want to create more and more of that feeling. And I want you also to think of the concept of a boiled frog, especially when it comes to the fight or flight response. So if you think of the boiled frog that we throw into a pot of boiling water, the frog is very aware that it's in a dangerous situation, and it's going to try to escape immediately because it knows that it can die in that situation. But then we think of the frog that is put into maybe a pot of warm water that's gently brought to a state of boiling. In that situation, is the frog actually aware of how much stress it's under? No, it will often die in that situation. It's a very sad thing, but when we think of this is how I want you to think of your stress level. If over time your stress level has continued to grow and grow, become this bigger and bigger thing, but you're not aware of how it's actually affecting your mind, your body, your stress, your physiology, anything. So this is a big deal. We really want to get to this whole concept of how we've adapted to stress, how we've adapted to living in the fight or flight mode, and what we can do about it. We do need to create awareness around this concept. Survival mode is meant to be temporary. And when it becomes your baseline, it robs your body of the resources it needs for healing and digestion and joy. There are the physical costs. These are going to be things like chronic fatigue, shallow sleep, hormonal imbalances, increased cortisol that's wreaking havoc on your sex hormones. Your immune system is going to be weakened. You can become sick more easily when your stress finally slows down, and you may experience digestive problems. They've shown that so many people that are diagnosed with IBS really have a root issue of high stress level that's impacting their digestive system. But that stress level could be creating constipation or bloating. It could be creating chronic diarrhea. It could be creating fluctuations in your digestive system, all with a root cause of stress. There are the emotional costs of living in fight or flight mode and survival mode. You could have irritability, reacting and overreacting to small things. This shows us again that there's dysregulation within the nervous system. You find yourself going from 0 to 100 in your emotional response. This tells me that there may be a patterned response, not necessarily a response to what is currently happening in your world. You may be experiencing numbness, feeling like you're just getting through life, but you're not really experiencing it. You're not really present. Not being in touch with your intuition, not being able to access what your true needs actually are. Maybe you're just using coping mechanisms to navigate life because your nervous system doesn't have enough access to true feelings. Things like overeating, overexercising, shopping excessively, drinking alcohol, things that create further disconnection as coping mechanisms. Realize that when we're stressed, it affects our frontal cortex of our brain. This shuts down our higher thinking, our higher decision making, our creativity. It can be difficult to access higher levels of consciousness when we're living in this state. All of this disconnects us from who we really are, who we are as individuals, and it really doesn't allow us to honor our true needs. Not only may we struggle with connecting with ourselves, but we may struggle with connecting with our partner or our kids because our body is in chronic defense mode. I know I've experienced this many times in my life. I've had too much work on my plate or put work as too much of a priority, or I've had huge goals. And there's times when there's so much coming at me, I feel completely overwhelmed. But we have to stop and create moments of presence and awareness. We have to connect with what we're actually feeling. This is a lesson I've learned many times in my life, and I'm super passionate about it because I know what a difference it can make for me. My system easily moves into fight or flight. I know what that feels like. I know what it feels like to feel like you're in a state of overwhelm or have constant anxious thoughts. And I'm really passionate about helping people with this because when you can connect and regulate the nervous system and you can start to learn to live at a different patterning, it can make a huge difference within your life. I had to learn that many, many times. I've learned how to use tools like network spinal. I've learned how to regulate my nervous system with different habits and touch points that I use throughout the day. But I want you to be able to have access to these tools and to this information. I'm so passionate because it's changed my life and I know it can change yours. I also know that one of my fight or flight responses is to go into a fawn response. We don't talk about this as much because it's something that's more of a learned response. It's more of how you've been conditioned. But one of the things that can happen when our nervous system kind of goes into that stress response is instead of confronting issues or instead of dealing with things or creating boundaries, we kind of succumb to what everyone else's needs are. So instead of sticking up for what's right for you, you may say, oh, I'm just going to agree with this person so I can move on and avoid the stressful situation. All of these things they're patterning. When I start to get into a healthier state and when my nervous system moves into a much more regulated and calm and healing state, I can make decisions that actually support me and my well-being. Again, I want this for you. I want you to be able to recognize what's working for you and what's not. And that takes being able to repattern and regulate the nervous system. I want to talk about the long-term costs of staying in fight or flight mode. It's important to realize that stress hormones wear down your body. They increase your risk of burnout and chronic illness. This is mainly coming from excess cortisol that's really bathing the cells and creating an incredible baseline of inflammation within the body. Survival mode can age your body more quickly because it prioritizes short-term survival over long-term repair and healing. Depending on your lifestyle and genetics, this can affect you in different ways. It can affect your immune system and shunt you to frequent colds and flus. It can cause your blood sugar to be higher. Chronic increased cortisol, chronic stress hormones within the body, increase blood sugar and increase the inflammatory status within the body. It could be creating a pre-diabetic state or a diabetic state within your body. Stress hormones and long-term fight or flight affect your cardiovascular system. Your heart and your lungs work harder when you're under stress. So again, we want to shift your body out of this state. Stress can even create things like asthma, panic attacks, depression, anxiety. All of that can be rooted in long-term stress physiology. And it can make symptoms from perimenopause exaggerated, especially depending on how you handle the stress physiology, meaning behaviors that you use to cope. I think we see in the media that so many women cope with perimenopause or hormonal issues or stress with alcohol, with chocolate, with sugar, and those things just make the situation so much worse. So again, let's get to the root of it, which is stress physiology, and address that and help the nervous system heal and regulate. Rest alone doesn't fix this situation. So many people try self-care, a weekend off, a bubble bath, a yoga class, and those are really good things. But if your nervous system is stuck in survival mode, that won't register. It doesn't help your body realize that it's in a state of safety or that it could move into a state of safety. Your body will keep itself in defense versus finding peace and healing. That's why you can take a vacation and still come home feeling exhausted, never truly recovering. You're jumping right back into stress physiology. You've dug yourself into a deeper hole than instead of just giving yourself the time to recover and truly go into a deeper healing process. So we want to get some practical ideas of how we can get out of survival mode. Remember that you need to notice your body's signals. Do you have a tight jaw, shallow breathing, racing thoughts? Those are early cues that your system is moving into fight or flight. Instead of ignoring them, pause and name them. I'm in survival mode right now. You're actually accepting where you're at, and this is powerful. This allows you to shift and to change versus keeping you stuck in the same place. The next thing you can do is create micro signs, micro signals of safety. I love using 3 deep, slow breaths, deep belly breaths. I love it when you can put your hands on your heart, you could put your hands on your belly, and take deep breaths in through the nose, out through the mouth with a longer exhale. When you place your hands on your chest and you can remind your body, I'm safe right now, that's incredibly powerful. Remember that there's power in physical touch. It reminds the body that you can move into a state of safety. And then I want you to remember that you can shift your movement patterns. Instead of high intensity workouts, add calming movement like walking outdoors or stretching or gentle yoga. And remember that variety is a good thing. Sometimes I need to lift weights. I need that kind of intense workout to regulate my nervous system. But I need to recognize the difference when it's time to slow down and practice a gentle movement, time to do a Pilates class or take a gentle walk through the neighborhood. That's okay. It's okay to have variety. Realize that when we haven't had quality of sleep for a while, or maybe we've had some really restless nights, or we're having shallow sleep because our nervous system has been dysregulated, it's important that we listen to that and honor that with low-key movement. That is not the time to do a really intense workout. But if you've been sleeping well and you've been honoring your body in other ways, maybe you can handle that intense workout. But when you become aware of your body, you're going to be much more in touch with when that works for you and when it's not going to work for you. Any kind of new stimulus that you do actually allows the brain to move into a state of awareness. It breaks the patterns of automatic unconscious behavior. Instead of just doing what we know every single time, it's great to have a variety. So remember that variety is actually key for creating awareness within the nervous system. I want you to get support for nervous system regulation. Approaches like network spinal care gently help the body release tension patterns so it can move from defense to healing. Remember the difference between regulating and actually healing. I want to give you an example of panic attacks. You can use regulation of breath, or you can use that deep in through the nose, out through the mouth breathing to help stop or prevent a panic attack. But when you've gone into a state of true nervous system healing and repatterning the nervous system, you may not experience panic attacks at all. So remember, there's a difference between regulating and actually healing. Tactical takeaways from today's episode. Remember that survival mode is supposed to be temporary. If it becomes your normal, your body pays a steep price. Exhaustion, reactivity, and disconnection aren't character flaws. They're nervous system signals. By practicing micro movements of safety and getting nervous system support, you can step out of survival mode and reclaim energy and presence. My goal for you this week is to slow down, create awareness, enough awareness that you can observe yourself moving into unconscious choices. And just being in that state of observation can be incredibly powerful. The brain can become an observer when there's safety. I'd also like you to slow down enough to be able to have awareness of how you truly feel and then acknowledge it. When we can acknowledge an emotion and accept that is how we truly feel, it can move within us. If we push the emotion away or try to deny it, or even the physical symptom away, we just create more of it. Thanks for joining me today on Healing Beyond the Symptoms. If something in this episode resonated, know this: your body isn't broken. It's patterned, and patterns can change. If you found today's episode helpful, make sure you've subscribed to the podcast and share it with a friend. And be sure to follow me on Instagram at Body and Balance Wellness Center for daily insights. Until next time, breathe deep, listen in, and remind your body you are safe. Thanks again for joining me today on Healing Beyond the Symptoms. If you've been curious about network spinal, or if you've tried everything else and still feel stuck, I want you to know this: your body is not broken. It's patterned, and those patterns can change. If you're ready to experience how gentle care can lead to profound transformation, I'd love to invite you to book a wellness consultation at bodyandbalancechiropractic.com. Together, we'll look at what your body needs to finally release, reset, and thrive. Until next time, breathe deep, trust your body, and remember, gentle can be powerful.